Well, good evening, internets. It's me, DP Knudten, for another exciting edition of BOOKWARD BOUND. 301 consecutive daily live streams from, I should really do this, to done. And what is that done? This done is a brand new book uploaded and ready for self-publishing via Kindle's or Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform. I'm going to be doing that, and the goal is to have press-ready PDFs ready by January 1st, 2021. And this all started, March 5th, I think. I looked up and saw that there were 301 days left in the year, and I thought, I need a new book for next year, so I might as well start writing it. And this time, I'm going to do it live in front of people just like you. And so that's exactly what I am doing. And it's happening right now, typically around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Central Daylight Time here in the United States of America. And it typically consists of me mumbling while staring at the screen, scratching my head, doing a lot of this. But also sharing information, answering questions if you have any, and just progressing my book forward. Because I'm not one of those people who's going to sit down and write 8 hours every single day. Instead, I'm going to write half an hour to an hour every day, moving that ball closer to the end zone, if you want a football reference, or better yet, talking about finishing that book by writing just a little bit at a time. And some nights I'm going to write, other nights I'm going to design something like the cover, like you've already seen the cover. Right here, that's Nonfiction Brand, Discovering, Crafting, and Communicating the Completely True, Completely You brand you already are. Yep, that's the title of the book. And I designed the book cover because I truly believe that you got to see it to be it, or in my case, you got to see the cover to realize that it is an actual thing rather than just a figment of my imagination. So anyway, what am I going to do tonight? Well, I'm going to go over into Scrivener, the application I'm using to actually write this puppy. And I'm looking at a section here, me or my biz, what's the difference? Okay, so I'm not writing this book in any kind of order other than whatever strikes my fancy for any given night. And for some reason, I landed on this, so I might as well start writing. And what does this really have? What am I talking about here? Well, a lot of let's say you're totally buying into the idea that you need to discover, craft, and communicate your personal brand. And are raring to go and are excited about getting started. If you're like many people, especially those with active or almost active side hustles while holding down a day job, it's pretty clear who you should be branding. I got to change this sentence a little bit. Goes with, especially those holding down a day job. You. But what? Those with active or active side hustles that they'd like. Side hustles. Yeah. Especially those like to make such side number one of income for time. Who or what should they be branding? This question came up several years ago as I was meeting my friend Stacy Harbaugh. After years in the public sector, and getting public nonprofit, that's right, in the not-for-profit sector and getting paid not so much, getting paid what? Not for profits. Pay, she realized that she needed to both build her brand. She decided that she needed to build her brand big time. When we met, she asked in course of our meeting, exchanged business cards, and I noticed that her company name was opaque. Was vague at best. What was her company name? Like, let's look it up. Contacts. PC. And unstuck. There you go. It was a 2-word name. What does that make it best? Peg at best. About this, and she explained the name. She explained the name to me, and she explained the name to me, and she explained the name. I asked her about this, and she explained it. Explained the name. But the first, joke to herself. Oh. Company was designed to do for her. Oh, was it an ultra inside joke about what the company was designed to do for her? That me. So I asked her, why are you hiding behind a company logo and name when your company is really just you? Do you have plans to turn it into something bigger? She said no. And so I replied, why aren't you simply focusing yourself Why aren't you folks? Why aren't you focusing on yourself? Focusing on the brand matters. Yourself. I'm going to take Stacy's name out of this. With a friend. Meeting with a friend. After years in the not-for-profit sector and getting paid what not-for-profits pay, she realized that she needed to build her brand big time. In the course of our meeting, we exchanged business cards, and I noticed that her company name was Opaque at best. I asked her about this, and she explained the name. The second word of the two-word name was functional communications, but the first, it was more of an ultra inside joke about what the company was designed to do for her. That confused me, so I asked her, why are you hiding behind the company by a company logo and name when your company is really just you? Do you have plans to turn it into something bigger? She said no. And so I replied, why aren't you focusing on the brand that really matters? Yourself. And then realized I should be asking the very same question of myself. Ever since leaving and working for myself, done so under the banner of collaborator creative. Never really intended on growing my business as I tend toward the lone wolf side of things. I tend toward the lone wolf side of things. But when I started, I can't type, but when I started, it just felt like I needed to have a company name to appear credible. Actually, I need to go back up here because that's one of the things I told her. The second one, she said no, comma, but she wanted to be perceived credible. I replied with an all too snappy why use a company name to behind a company name to appear credible when you could earn that perception by simply being credible. And then I realized I should be asking the various. Ever since I've been working for myself, I've done some under the banner of Collaborative Creative. I've never really intended to grow my business, as I tend toward the lone wolf side of things. But when I started, I just felt like I needed to have a company name. As a shield into battle. Almost as a shield to take into battle. But really, But when, let's see, ever since I started, ever since I've been working for myself, I've done so under the banner of Collaborative Creative. I've never really intended in growing my business as I tend too much attending. As I gravitate toward the lone wolf side of things. But when I started, it just felt like I needed to have a company name, almost as a shield to take into battle. It helps in certain situations, like when I'm giving a presentation somewhere. The first line of my introduction is typically something along the lines of DP is the chief collaborator of his company, Collaborator Creative, And let's do a nice little ellipsis there. Oh, comma. Use the logo and name invoices too. But when I answer my phone, I always answer it saying, "Hi, you've reached hi, you've reached DP Knudten." Either or hey, hi, this is DP, or this, hey, name, comma, this is DP. Because visual, because my phone shows me who's calling. And that's a really good. That's a really good indicator of who or what you should be branding. Who or what to brand. The entity how do you know or what the brand? How do you know who to brand, who or what to brand? How do you answer your phone? I know I got that someplace else. All right, so I'm working on this section and I'm thinking my way through it. I kind of know what I want to say. I know the overall subject matter of the section, but after a while I reach a point where I'm going, I need to chew on this a little bit further before I just sit here staring at the screen over and over again. And I'm feeling like I'm almost there. I just have to figure out how to say this thing right here. This, how do you know who or what to brand? The answer lies in how you answer your phone. It really is as simple as that. If you're building company, even with the goal of possibly selling it sometime, comma, you really need to brand the company. If you're like me, loving the lone wolf lifestyle, you better be focusing solely on brand that boosts yourself, your solo self. This was hammered home to me during a recent recording session with the fantastic Jay Bear. I've written a whole section in this book about how he's a master of visually branding his personal brand, but I am equally impressed by his strategic point of view his strategic answer to the yourself or your company question. You can, I'm going to do a pull quote. Jay Bear on branding his business. From an FB podcast. He gave a really good answer to that, so I'm going to grab that whole section. And this is actually a killer pro tip, which is whenever you can bring someone else into your book via a quote, especially a quote that's part of your podcast, you can bring their expertise into your book. You make them look great by enabling them to share their wisdom. But you also burnish your credentials by having someone who's terribly credible or working with you, collaborating with you, if you will. And also, it's going to give me 50 to 75, 150 words possibly of valuable copy that will help make this book, help flesh out this book. Because, you know, it's like the idea of using other people's money or user-generated content. This is, you know, I hate to say it, but it's really taking user-generated content as created by my guests on my podcast. Is it repurposing? Nah, not really. It's kind of neo-purposing. Let's call it neo-purposing. I'm going to neo-purpose some of the stuff we've talked about on the podcast in my book. And again, it creates a virtuous cycle, which is you read the book, you're inspired to listen to the podcast, you meet some people that are talked about in the book, and it's just this kind of flywheel effect between the book and the podcast and me. And every single time that wheel goes round, it goes upward a little bit, and it takes me along with it. It builds my personal brand. It builds Jay Bear's personal brand. It builds all my guests' personal brand. It builds the brand of the Nonfiction Brand podcast. I mean, it's literally a virtuous cycle that lifts all boats or floats all boats. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? Of course you should. So I'm going to definitely do it here. But I'm also noticing down at the bottom that I'm at about 552 words, which, in my head, I kind of have a little bit of a quota that is, if you make it to 500 words a night, that's good. Don't kill yourself to get this book done, because if it becomes less fun, you're not going to keep doing it. And that is so darn important. In fact, I'm just going to look it up right now, because I never look it up before I go live to see what episode this is. I think it's 91 or 92. Hold on. Stand by. Stand by for news. Yes, I am live now, but I'm looking under videos. My last video was episode 94. So this is episode 95. 95 episodes that I've been putting substantial work into of this live stream. You can see I'm trying to get as much value out of this work as I can, because for the longest time, I thought that, I can write a blog post and put it on my own website's blog and people will find it. No. People don't find squat. Algorithms bubble stuff up to them. YouTube, you don't find the best stuff on YouTube. You find the stuff that YouTube wants to get in front of your face. Once they understand your likes, like in my case, look at the walls behind me. I love guitars and love guitar playing. Guess what? It shows me guitars and guitar playing. It doesn't show me fantastic videos by other things or about just random stuff. It bubbles up the stuff that they know I'm going to like. Why? Because they want to keep me on site watching those videos. So my brilliant blog posts that no one ever read were doing me no good whatsoever, because I wasn't going out of my way to promote myself, those blogs, or anything. And that's a big part of this book, which is that if you're waiting for someone to give you credit, you're going to be waiting a really, really long time. We don't live in a society that gives credit. We live in a society that awards people who take credit. Now, here's the thing. You can take credit for what you do, or you can let someone else take credit for your hard work and your brilliance. Personal branding says, don't let anyone take credit for what you do, who you are, and how you do it. It also doesn't let anyone steal your spotlight. Why? Because you're claiming your spotlight. And that's what this whole book is about. So anyway, as I say, this is all about stepping in out of the shadows and into your own personal spotlight. Hey, just like that light over there. So that you can get credit for the good work, the care, the brilliance that is you. A personal brand is not about self-aggrandizement or having your photo taken in beautiful spots around the country so you can be an Instagram influencer. It's about letting people know exactly who you are, what you do, and how you do it in a way that is memorable and in a way that demonstrates who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Why am I doing this live stream right now? Because there's no better way for me to demonstrate all of those things to you in a way that if we were ever to meet in person, you would probably come up to me and say, hey, I watch your stuff all the time. And I'll be like, great. Who are you? Because here's the thing about live streams. You feel like you have a more intimate relationship with me than I do with you, because I don't even know you're watching. Sorry. unless you've replied to anything or sent in a question or typed in a question in the comment box of this live stream, I don't know you're watching. So maybe you should take credit for watching by sending me a note right now via eStream, just by typing into the comments box saying that, hey, DP, I'm watching, and then tell me who you are. And then if you're ever on again, say, hey, DP, I'm watching, because guess what? I guarantee you this. I will remember that you watched. And when we meet in person and you say, hey, I watch your live streams all the time, I'm blankety blank, I'm going to go, oh my God. And then I will be the same type of friend that you think that I am because you're watching. And then I will know that you're watching. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense. But the whole point is, don't be anonymous. Don't stay in the shadows. Get out there and take credit for who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And do it in a way that people get to know you better. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which comes out every Monday, which means today, oh, it's a Monday. An episode came out today. Check it out. It's with Dana Sanchez. She's fantastic. I love her. Really interesting conversation, and I think you'll enjoy it too. You can get it wherever podcasts are free, such places as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, blah, blah, you name it. You can find it. Just search Nonfiction Brand, and you'll find it. And you'll be able to tell because the cover image is me. It actually looks like that Nonfiction Brand with the photo. That is the poster image for the podcast as well. So you'll know it's the right podcast because it looks exactly like this. Method to my madness? Yes. Am I a raging narcissist? No, not really. But I am sick and tired of not getting credit for who I am, what I do, and how I do it. So you should feel exactly the same way about yourself. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for keeping me honest and making me come down here to progress my book forward. I'll see you tomorrow. But in the meantime, theme music, take us on out. All right. I'll see you tomorrow.